As World War II began, the United States opted for neutrality, having experienced the significant consequences of World War I. During the initial phases of the conflict, Germany's military strategies were predominant. However, by the conclusion of the war, the United States had swiftly enhanced its military capabilities, emerging as an unparalleled superpower. A crucial factor in achieving this dominance was the North American F-86 Sabre, a jet that, despite its limited operational period, heralded the advent of American air superiority. This documentary will explore how this groundbreaking aircraft transformed aerial combat. The North American F-86 Sabre is a transonic jet fighter of considerable historical importance, yet it remains relatively unknown to many today. This obscurity may stem from its peak operational years occurring in the aftermath of what is often regarded as the most significant war in history. Additionally, it reflects the United States' historical reluctance to engage in conflicts during both world wars, not due to a lack of military capability, but rather because these wars unfolded on distant continents. The United States faced no substantial threats during either conflict, and despite assaults from Germany in World War I and Japan in World War II, it could have effectively safeguarded its borders. Nevertheless, these wars presented a unique opportunity for the United States to demonstrate its military strength and potentially establish itself as the preeminent global power. At the onset of World War II, the United States was still in the process of recovering from the Great Depression, making the decision to engage in a costly global conflict appear imprudent. Instead, the U.S. capitalized on a profitable opportunity by selling ammunition and supplies to warring nations while maintaining a neutral stance. This approach allowed the United States to produce weapons of war without initially innovating to the same degree as countries like Germany and Japan, which had a notable presence on the front lines. However, close collaboration with Allied forces provided the U.S. with insights into emerging technologies, enabling significant improvements during this period. The United States achieved considerable advancements in communication and warfare technology, largely due to its partnerships with allies who had observed the technological progress of the Axis powers. Despite the potential of many of these innovations, they did not play a major role in the war. Nonetheless, these collaborations led to the creation of various technologies, including the North American F-86 Sabre, which represented a pivotal moment in U.S. aviation history due to its innovative design. The F-86 Sabre was developed and manufactured for the U.S. Air Force by North American Aviation, a prominent American aerospace company known for producing significant aircraft such as the P-51 Mustang fighter, which actively participated in World War II in 1944, towards the conflict's conclusion. The United States Air Force announced its intention to develop a medium-range, single-seat, high-altitude jet-powered fighter bomber, which it believed would contribute to a swift conclusion of the war. North American Aviation was among the companies that expressed interest in this initiative and submitted for distinct design proposals to the Air Force in early 1945. Subsequently, the Air Force selected one of these designs and awarded North American a contract to produce 3 prototypes of the aircraft, designated XP-86, with XP denoting experimental pursuit. Edgar Schmude, the chief designer of the XP-86, was also responsible for the design of the P-51 Mustang. The initial design of the XP-86 was based on North American's own straight-wing FJ Fury series of naval aircraft, particularly the FJ-1. The design team streamlined the FJ-1, eliminating certain features and implementing various modifications, resulting in the XP-86 being significantly lighter and faster than its predecessor. Estimates indicated that the XP-86 could achieve speeds nearly 40 miles per hour greater than the FJ-1. However, despite these speed enhancements, the XP-86 did not demonstrate performance superior to the existing fighter bombers of the time, as its recorded speed still fell short of the Air Force's requirement of 600 miles per hour. Concerns arose regarding the potential cancellation of its development. Aware of the need for innovative solutions to meet and exceed the Air Force's expectations, North American benefited from the extensive espionage activities during World War II, which provided valuable intelligence. Vital technological information was successfully obtained from German sources, including a design technique that would ultimately transform aviation in the United States. Following the acquisition of flight research data from German aerodynamicists at the conclusion of World War II, as part of what became known as Operation Paperclip, North American Aviation uncovered a crucial insight. The key to overcoming the speed limitations of the XP-86 lay in the implementation of a swept-wing design. The data acquired through Operation Paperclip indicated that a slender swept wing could significantly reduce drag and mitigate the compressibility issues that had affected earlier fighter aircraft, such as the Lockheed P-38 Lightning. German engineers and designers had recognized the advantages of swept wings during World War II, based on experimental designs that originated as early as 1940. North American Aviation analyzed this data and determined that a swept wing would effectively address their speed challenges, while also noting that a leading-edge slat would improve low-speed stability. At that point, North American had made considerable advancements in the development of the first XP-86 prototype. Although the decision to transition to a swept-wing design encountered some opposition due to the need to modify the nearly finished aircraft's original configuration, the concept was ultimately embraced after favorable results were achieved in wind tunnel tests. North American incorporated a 35 swept-back wing design, and on August 8, 1947, the XP-86 prototype was unveiled. Less than 2 months later, on October 1, it completed its maiden flight from Muroc Dry Lake, now recognized as Edwards Air Force Base. California was the site where the distinguished World War II pilot George Welsh piloted the XP-86, which was later designated as the F-86A. This aircraft distinguished itself through its remarkable capabilities, which contributed to its status as a transformative force in aviation. The F-86 Sabre was manufactured in both fighter interceptor and fighter bomber configurations, with numerous variants developed throughout its production period. Each iteration introduced significant enhancements, including improved performance and diverse armament options to address the changing demands of combat. The initial production model was the F-86A, with over 550 units constructed. The final production variant was the F-86H, of which 29 were modified into the QF-86H model for use by the United States Naval Weapons Center. Among these models, the F-86D emerged as one of the most successful variants, with more than 2,500 units produced, alongside the F-86F, which saw over 2,200 units manufactured. The original XP-86 design was equipped with a General Electric J35C3 jet engine, produced by General Motors Chevrolet division, generating approximately 18 kN of thrust for the F-86A. The F-86A1 utilized the General Electric J47GE7 engine, which provided 23 kN of thrust, while the final variant, the F-86H, was powered by the General Electric J73GE3 engine, delivering 41 kN of thrust. The swept-wing design of the F-86 Sabre allowed it to surpass the 600 mph requirement, achieving a maximum speed of approximately 660 mph at lower altitudes. However, at altitudes exceeding 20,000 feet, its speed generally fell just below the required threshold. The F-86 Sabre had a range of between 1,200 and 1,350 nautical miles, depending on various factors. The F-86 Sabre variant had a maximum takeoff weight of approximately 8.2 tons. In terms of armament, it was equipped with 6 12.7mm M3 Browning machine guns, which could carry a total of 1,800 rounds. Additionally, the aircraft was capable of being outfitted with various rocket launchers or bombs on any or all of its four external hard points, allowing for a maximum payload of up to 2.4 tons. While these specifications were commendable for their time, they were not particularly remarkable. To secure its place in the history of U.S. aviation and military operations, the F-86 needed to accomplish extraordinary feats, which it ultimately did. After narrowly missing participation in World War I, the F-86 quickly found its role in the subsequent major conflict involving the United States and its Air Force, the Korean War. In 1951, the Sabre was integrated into the 94th Fighter Squadron, becoming the primary air-to-air jet fighter for the U.S. Air Force during the conflict. At that time, the Russian-designed Mikoyan Gurevich MiG-15 posed significant challenges to earlier U.S. and United Nations aircraft, including the Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star and the Republic F-84 Thunderjet fighter bomber. The swept-wing design of the F-86 Sabre allowed it to effectively compete with the MiGs, largely due to the superior training of American pilots, particularly in the early stages of the war, despite the MiG-15's advantages over earlier F-86 models. The F-86 Saber's firepower, acceleration, and rate of climb were significant factors in its performance, even though the F-86 models were marginally faster. The synergy between the F-86 Saber's capabilities and the skills of American pilots proved to be exceptionally effective during the Korean War. Throughout the conflict, 40 pilots attained ace status, indicating they had downed 5 or more enemy aircraft in aerial engagements, with only one of them not flying an F-86. By the time the F-86F variant was introduced in 1953, featuring advanced capabilities, the aircraft had gained a slight superiority over the MiG-15S. Following the war, American sources credited F-86 pilots with the destruction of 792 MiGs, while suffering the loss of only 78 Sabres in air-to-air combat, resulting in an impressive success ratio of nearly 10-1. Regardless of the veracity of these claims, the legacy of the F-86 Sabre extended well beyond the Korean War. The U.S. Air Force had a surplus of these aircraft and transferred 106 F-86F Sabres to the former Republic of China Air Force between 1954 and 1956. By the conclusion of the Second Taiwan Strait crisis in 1958, this number had increased to 320. In 1954, Pakistan received its initial batch of 102 F-86F Sabres through the Mutual Defense Assistance Program. These aircraft were subsequently operated by 9 squadrons of the Pakistan Air Force, playing a vital role in supporting Pakistan's efforts during the Baja campaign against Afghan infiltrators in the 1960s. Additionally, the F-86F was crucial in Guinea-Bissau's War of Independence during the early 1960s, particularly in ground attack and close support operations against insurgent forces. The aircraft was operated by the Portuguese Air Force, which acquired 50 units from the stocks of the ex-US Air Force. The F-86 Sabre possessed capabilities that were so exceptional at the time that Soviet forces sought to capture an intact F-86 during the Korean War for evaluation and analysis. However, these attempts were largely unsuccessful, as the U.S. military adhered to a policy of destroying disabled or abandoned weapons and equipment, including any downed Sabres. Despite its remarkable accomplishments, the F-86 began to exhibit signs of obsolescence by the late 1950s, and by the mid-1960s, it had lost its status as a premier fighter aircraft. Nevertheless, it continued to be utilized by over a dozen nations, including Portugal, the Philippines, Peru, South Korea, and Saudi Arabia. The F-86 even found some application in air-to-air combat during the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965, where it performed surprisingly well against Indian aircraft. Reports indicate that the Pakistani Air Force ensured the F-86 was not underutilized, calling upon it again in 1971 during further conflicts with India. However, outside of Pakistan, the F-86's active combat role had largely diminished, and by 1994, the last F-86 was retired by the Bolivian Air Force. A total of nearly 99,900 units of the F-86 were produced across all variants, highlighting its success in a relatively short timeframe. Technology derived from the F-86 eventually contributed to the development of advanced aircraft, such as the Australian CAC Sabre, the North American F-86D Sabre, the North American FJ for Fury, the North American YF-93, and the North American F-100 Super Sabre are notable aircraft in aviation history. Currently, it is quite rare to witness an F-86 in flight. However, there are approximately 50 privately owned and registered F-86s in the United States, including the Canadair CL-13 Sabres, as reported by the FAA. For those interested in viewing one, visiting a museum is advisable, such as the non-profit Fargo Air Museum or the National Museum of the United States Air Force. As of August 2024, a restoration project is underway for the last variant of the F-86 Sabre, specifically a Mark VI model manufactured in Canada by Canadair. Volunteers at the Royal Aviation Museum of Western Canada in Winnipeg are diligently working on this project, which is expected to be completed by the time this video is released. The unveiling is planned for late September of the same year, coinciding with the museum's 50th anniversary celebrations. This particular aircraft, built in 1958, is the last of the 225 Mark VI models ever produced, and its preservation would contribute to the nation's efforts to maintain one of its most historic aircraft. While the technologies that facilitated the development of the F-86 Sabres may not have endured, the aircraft's versatility and adaptability were vital, allowing it to serve as a frontline fighter for various air forces. The F-86 also validated the capabilities of U.S. military aircraft and heralded a new era in military aviation, characterized by U.S. air superiority, a legacy that continues to influence global aviation today. We invite you to share your thoughts on the F-86 Sabres in the comments below.